Welcome to Tapped In, the weekly live show exploring creativity, embodiment, and life after unraveling. I'm your co-host Siobhan. We have our other co-host Midori, and our guest today is Flo, the Fairy Godsis, founder of Blume. Before we get into the episode, if you are watching or listening before June 16th, I have enrollment open for the Embodied Care Immersion. This is the second year of an immersion that is created for caregivers, both personal and professional, to be in community of other people and dedicated to embodying more radical ways of doing energy work, ancestor work, and facilitating spaces as community service providers. I'll leave it at that. My name is Siobhan. I'm the founder of the Birth Realm, and I'm going to pass it to Midori.
And I am Midori. I'm an artist alchemist and astrologer, and I do one-on-one readings. You can check the link down below for that. And we got Flo in the building, aka the Fairy Godsis, aka Blume. I'm going to do a little intro here. Flo is a soul artist and guide, an awakened mystic, a former academic turned artist, healer, and poet. Born and raised on Ohlone land in Oakland, California, Flo recently made her way down to Tongva land in Los Angeles to explore and discover who she is. She is the founder of Blume, where she curates experiences for self-expression, transformation, lots of play, and co-regulation of the nervous system. Flo teaches a unique mindfulness and creativity class and calls them Soul Play, where she performs her story medicine at Jumake through spoken word poetry, then facilitates a variety of body-based exercises, including breath work and vocalization to help release stress and tension in the mind and body. Her decolonization journey began shortly after completing her master's in public health degree at UC Berkeley in 2019, where her research looked at intergenerational trauma in refugee communities and mental health in Asian American communities. She is a second-gen Asian American, daughter to Chinese Vietnamese refugees and immigrants. She is queer, neurodivergent, and on a path to be free. One of Flo's dreams is to become a full-time resource star. She already is, where she DJs for soul liberation and facilitates experiences for sacred rest and play. Flo likes to learn and study esoteric subjects, including astrology, mysticism, and magic. Come vibe with the Fairy Godsis on her weekly streams, which you can check out in the info section. And welcome, Flo, to the field.
Want to ring us in? Do you have your little bell, Midori?
Mm-hmm. And you are now tapped into the soft power frequency.
Oh. Welcome, Flo. Flo has transported from the comment section queen to center stage today. Flo, what are you celebrating?
The center stage. Oh, I am celebrating courage, audacity, presence. I am celebrating this moment here with both of you. It feels like a big opening in my heart right now, where there's so much that my soul wants to express, and I'm really excited. Ooh, yeah, I feel my heart beating, and it's my nerves telling me, it's my body excited too. It's my body is nervous. My body is excited for this conversation, for what's to unfold, and what's to flow.
Yes, thanks, Flo. It's so funny that I feel like every time you hop on any sort of like public virtual stage, you express your nerves, but it's so evident whenever you do speak that like you were born for this. Like you were really born to have the spotlight on you. So like, hello, you're like, you just like literally emanate this presence. So I'm celebrating you for showing up again and to be in the spotlight. What are you celebrating, Siobhan?
I'm celebrating being here today, celebrating all of the work that we've each been doing individually and collectively, and been really just feeling into the vibration of what's approaching. As I mentioned at the start, I'm enrolling for this care immersion, and it's just a really big stretch. Like the shifts of the format, the increased number of people that I'm anticipating, all of it just feels like everything I've been wishing for and working toward is beginning to materialize, and that's really exciting. And so I'm celebrating that along with, I don't know, this week just feels major. And I'm going to throw in there that I'm celebrating that tomorrow is my 5-year wedding anniversary. And as y'all know, if you listen, I am not with my husband. We are separated, but it still feels like a really big celebration for myself, looking back on like who I was 5 years ago, as well as the commitment that I've continued on in this marriage to define it myself, or ourselves together. So yeah, I actually am really celebrating that 5 years into a marriage. Absolutely did not expect that we would not be a couple only 5 years in, but the way that my family looks right now is closer to alignment than I think what I even had set forth on my wedding day. So that's a celebration for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, this show is definitely our way to archive these moments. It's
Mhm.
like so cool. We're gonna be able to look back at this and be like, remember that time you launched your immersion that like rocketed your career? Because I have to say, if anyone hasn't checked out Siobhan's work, this immersion, it truly is kind of, I mean, it is the pinnacle, I think, of everything you've been like studying. It's so evident that it's just the synthesis of everything. So celebrating you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Thank
like,
you for both of your support.
the embodiment of like your work is all around building too, like family and care, and like hello, you're embodying it. That's so cool. I am celebrating. I just got back from an event and I did like 3 hours of readings straight. So I think I probably did at least 12 readings.
Oh, the event was in the morning.
In the morning, yeah. And I was like committed. I was like, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna leave. I could have stayed and just hung out, but I was like, I'm gonna come back because tapped in is really important and I want to be here. And so I just feel really grounded in that. I'm like, I'm just good at it. I'm really good at readings, and I'm like growing in confidence. The more I do it, I'm just like, I was born for this. Like, I know that this is what I'm here to do because I'm so energized. Like, I could keep going. I could have been there all day.
Activated. Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, my generator.
Icon activator.
Yo, icon activator. I love that.
Yeah, and I'm claiming that. I think like the verbiage around like my brand, I guess, as a psychic is really spinning towards like seeing people's inner star and
star activation.
Yeah, being able to activate their icon.
We've been known this was your path. I remember Midori, like when I first came across Captolia's work, and I think we shout her out every time because we've been in her program. But I remember seeing that like I was just kept thinking as I was looking, it was like, I see Midori doing this in her own way. Just the concept of what Captolia does, obviously, is similarly seeing people's star power, seeing people's authentic selves, And you are so good at that. I think you've obviously, like, Flo and I are just, you know, products of that, like, that energy that you've poured into us and seeing us and affirming us all the time. So we're just a couple little Leo babes that need our Leo Jupiter mom, Aries mom to
You better believe in yourself. You're a star.
You're a fucking star, babe.
Anything you want to do, it's possible.
Yes.
Oh, so funny.
You're total fairy godmother vibes.
We are testaments to your discovery. To what you see in us, the inner light in us. And how you hype us up, oh man. That's the love that my soul needs, our souls need.
Yeah, like, for those who, if this is your first time seeing the three of us together, know that while you don't see Flo on stage as much, well, Flo's always in the comment section gassing us up, but we have, the three of us, like, really been in this cycle of support and, like, reciprocal mirroring and witnessing. And you said something recently, Midori, where you were like, the concept of, like, not feeling like we exist if we're not seen and witnessed. And I think that our friendship actually really solidifies that concept. That's, like, I think between, like, our personal, like, you know, we've talked about this and other stuff, and I think we'll get into this, but people who are very, like, psychically gifted deal with a lot of mental health struggles, and, like, we all have cycled together through phases and seasons of depression and anxiety and, like, wanting to disappear and, like, even really struggling to get resource to even show up. And I think that, like, us sitting here right now is actually a really cute, like, evolution that we have just continued to, like, not let each other vanish or fall off and, like, keep pulling each other back to center stage. So even like, I'm super celebrating Flo, who, like you said, like, to me, Flo always has something to say. Flo has a lot to say. So it's just, like, really sweet that you're like, I get so nervous to, like, be in this situation, because you were always, like, saying really profound things and, like, having this deep insight, and maybe it's because you're writing, you're more comfortable. But I'm really celebrating you, Flo, that you said yes to just hopping in the conversation today with your voice.
We said yes to the calling. We said yes to the calling, and this time I had to pick up the call and, like, use my voice and respond.
Hello? I'm here.
Like, physically, literally, figuratively, energetically, spiritually. Oh my gosh, because the call will keep calling until you pick up your calls and, like, do the and to, like, clear the shit. I feel like there's a lot of calls that I've been getting from my ancestors and my guides to keep doing the inner exploration and keep showing up exactly how you are. You know, honor your emotional states and show up as you are. Have a weekly program, you know?
I love that you're holding the mic right now.
Well, I'm like, the fact that we all showed up on time as three neurodivergent, like, babes, like, that is a win. And we are here every week, okay? That's commitment.
We are winning.
Even when
this is a practice of just showing up. Because, God, there's been days where it was really rough to show up, or we easily could cancel. You know, like, you went to an event this morning. Like, that's very reasonable that I'd be like, yeah, let's skip it. And, like, us being like, okay, let's show up, whatever it is. Yeah. And that is a growth. So let's get into it, Flo. You are familiar with the premise of our show, which is stories of unraveling and what comes after. And really, we focus more on, like, the after the unraveling. So, you know, share. I know there's so many layers to your story, but share with us today, like, as you are presently, what is your story of unraveling that feels relevant to tell today?
So here in my space, I have with me my cards, my divination cards that I communicate with. And I was sitting with my cards today, and I was journaling, pen to paper, and so I'm going to show the cards. The first card was deconditioning. This is from the Osho deck that Midori often pulls from on Tapped In. So the first card is deconditioning, and then so I want to share my thoughts about deconditioning and how that led to the journey of unraveling. I think it was, really, actually, the cards are going to say it, really being in silence and like being with myself and feeling like physical pain in my body, feeling physical pain and feeling lethargic and like very limited energy to show up. And I knew that there was something deeper, right, to this pain that I felt. And that led to rest. That led to me learning to slow down, me learning to really how to actually, like before being still and before being in my silence, a big part of my unraveling has to do with the deconditioning of my mind and body, the excavation of a lot of the behaviors that I would unconsciously engage in, and really sit and confront the shadows, the things that of the darkness of my of the secrets and the shadows. So this unraveling involved a lot of self-connection through movement and exploration of my body. The unraveling, happens in the moments where I am like when I catch myself on autopilot and having to intervene and pause and to take a deep breath and to remember, I feel like astrology has really helped me in this journey of unraveling and knowing who I am and getting to know myself and my energetic body so that I can learn to balance my energies within, because all this physical pain that I feel is emotional pain. It's emotions, it's stories emotions that hasn't been processed. So through my body-based exercises of like movement, intuitive movement, a lot of spinal activations, a lot of like joint rotation, and just like being a wild woman in my room and being a crazy woman, like letting myself feel the deep grief that my body is holding, the anger, the rage, and to process it and to transmute it into words. I've been writing a lot. This journey of unraveling, really, I credit a lot of my writing to, this story that I'm writing now. I feel like I've been so focused on like what happened to me, what happened in the past, how I got here. I was so focused on like the struggle and the pain that I felt, that I missed, the beauty and the bliss that is already in my life. And I can keep flowing. And that's why I renamed myself to Flo. That's, and I feel like this journey of unraveling, it's been so cool to like so powerful to look back at this journey, especially the past 2-3 years of how much change and transformation has taken place in my life and everyone's personal lives, and like how our lives like connect, like our connections together with each other. There's been so much transformation and growth, and like being on the edge of like what I knew, and like actually giving myself the permission to like fucking sorry, I'm like church, like fall and let go and start over again.
Flo, can I ask you? So much of what you shared around your body and choosing and breaking patterning, I would love to hear more around what was that catalyst for you, because, you know, in your intro, we know that you got your master's in public health studying intergenerational trauma. And so you've done so much research and reading and intellectual work around this, but what is it that actually took you into the body and like change the way that you were approaching it, from like looking for understanding to like noticing that this was a somatic experience?
Wow.
Like what even opened you up to the concept that it actually is a body thing and not a like mind thing?
So I would say like my past life in academia, where I researched, you know, trauma, and you know, reading about how these external events, how the external environments and conditioning like impacts how it gets literally becomes embodied in the body, right? There's so much stress. There's so much studies around how stress can literally like manifest into disease. Stress is one of the main factors for all of the like leading deaths, right, of cardiovascular disease, and it's linked to our built environment, right? This research that I've gained, and like this knowledge that I've gained of like being in that academic setting, right, and learning about my own lived experiences, and being actually shocked of like receiving this information in higher education, and like having to like, you know, and then integrating into my life, of realizing like, oh, like, you know, just like receiving more clues, right? More knowledge, more awareness, more clues. And I think for me, the turning point was, I would say, like after grad school, and then working my first full-time job it was started during the pandemic too. And I just saw myself having so many like outbursts of anxiety patterns, like, oh my god, shit was so frequent, and it was quite alarming to see how like, wow, my nervous system, right, there's this energy of like, I have to be on all the time. I have to be on all the time, and then not having the boundaries, right, to have around protecting my time. So everything just kind of like melded, and I felt the intensity in my body, and I would like just break down and have these like really sensational attacks, and so that was all data for me to observe of like, what are the conditionings, like what's the conditions that's like increasing my stress levels. And So then that led to like more reflection and being in spaces where I noticed that I get really anxious when I have to speak. And like knowing, that like who I was. I used to be a very shy person, like very quiet, shy, and reserved. And I think I reached the point in the pandemic where everything just felt out of line, like in disharmony for me, and they're showing up in my body.
How did that become spiritual for you?
Well, it links to my I think there's this like energy of always seeking and always searching for an answer, always searching outside of me. Of like, I need help. I don't know what's happening inside of my mind. I don't know what's happening with my emotions. And it's like, I didn't have the tools to process these emotions. And I remember, I was reading this book by Joseph Murphy called The Power of Your Subconscious. I feel like I've been on this path of healing, this path of seeking for so long. And it felt like I was just like swimming in so many different circles, but it always ended up being the same pattern in different settings, And it wasn't until after grad school, after I finished my capstone, my research paper on what's my train of thought? Yeah, it wasn't until I realized that reading in that book, there was a line that said healing is it's an attitude, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of living, it's a way of being called faith. And I feel like that word faith just did something, like it turned something inside of me. And like when I read that line, like something shifted in me, like the light turned on in me, and I immediately started Googling like churches nearby. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm missing. I'm missing like spirit. I'm missing spirituality. I'm missing like something to root myself in, because I've been searching for so long, and I realized that I wasn't rooted in myself and spirit and my soul. And so that was what led to my like spiritual awakenings. And so like every breakdown that I've had since then, I realized was always a initiation of, it was an awakening to the next evolution of the next iteration of me. So that is what led to the first spiritual awakening.
Wow.
The word faith.
The word faith. Wow. I'm just sitting here thinking like the irony and also like kind of the sadness around the fact that you're like at UC Berkeley studying about yourself, essentially, them telling you everything about yourself, you completing it, like passing and like doing, and you learn, and you like you literally got a certificate that said you're a master of your experience, and yet leaving and still being like, okay, thanks for the information, like my body doesn't give a shit. Now I'm just more hyper aware, and like I have to think there must be a link between that, like the awareness, and like I do believe that like when we know better, then, and that's part of my story too, is like learning the concepts and then not embodying them or not taking them into my life, like how it just got more and more difficult to push it down. That was like then like depressive episodes were getting worse. My anger was getting worse because it was like, this information didn't help me deal with it. You just let me know what I've already low-key known, and didn't, like, you've used a word, emotional alchemy, which I love, and I would love to hear you share, like, what does that mean to you in that? Because I'm thinking about that. That's like, what the hell is the value of telling someone they're a master at like this experience in life, but like, what's the solution here? Like, and I know they probably have their solutions, but you to come out of that and be like, I needed spirit. Like,
Yo, the solution is really unlearning. That was the solution. It was deconditioning of the mind, body, and spirit. Yoga literally translates to the union of the mind, body, spirit. It is through the synchronization of our breath back into this present moment, because we live in a society that is so futuristic. Although there are health spirit like death that is happening right in front of our eyes, right? There's this like collective it's it's the pattern of disassociating from what we need to process, from what we need to feel, right? Grief and anger and rage. And yeah, deprogramming, unlearning, and releasing, and actively choosing a new way of seeing things and doing things and being. That is, it's an active process. Unlearning is an active process of choosing to see things, to shift. Yeah, and it's the practice of embodiment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more of what emotional alchemy means for you? And I also want to hear from our art alchemists, because I feel like, you know, emotional alchemy, art alchemy is like really the same thread of like taking these feelings and alchemizing. So I want to hear more from the alchemists.
I think this would be a really beautiful bridge to Midori's work too, because when I met Midori, I feel like you helped me like activate my soul, because I felt like honestly like entering all these different portals, people's field, and it opening things in me, it led to like more like also like despair of like, oh shit, there's even more. And despair, but also so much more that is like being revived. And emotional alchemy. Sorry, I kind of got off a tangent there. Yeah, Midori's presence of I knew you as the person who was like the creative alchemist. Like I remember we were just like, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and we recently started like connecting our friendship over these cards, and the card that I remember in I think one of our sessions that we had, it was like tuning in, and just the storytelling from interpretations and viewpoints and perspectives of like relating to that card, and then also bringing like there's just like a frequency that's being connected and expanded.
Yeah, it's so cool too, thinking about that alchemy. There's so many origin points like throughout so many different cultures, but the through line that we have, I think, is like our Chinese ancestry and Taoism. And like there's two elements of alchemy from like the Taoist perspective. It's like esoteric in terms of like more conceptual, like, or it's like literally like meditations. It's very, very like spiritual. And then there's like actually like the scientific alchemy of like taking substances and trying to transmute them literally into gold, like that sort of like science that chemistry they were trying to do. So it's really dope to think about like alchemy being our through line, like conceptually in our friendship, in our relationship. And I think it's so cool to see the way that you've moved towards emotional alchemy, because that has been like what has, like those emotions in the body have been like what you've actually needed to transmute, because it's like it's such a personal experience for you, that chronic pain that you experience, and being able to like feel into your body, your ancestors, and like what actually needs to be processed in the body. And the way that you've like developed a framework to do that through Qigong, through like through what you call soul play, all of these, you know, body-based exercises that get things literally like energetically moving in a fun way. Your 5th house north node. And for me, like, I think like alchemy has like started off being the concept of like, because like from my upbringing, like not thinking of myself as an artist and not feeling like that was an identity I ever knew that was something I could claim, identifying as an artist feels like the way that I can alchemize my experience and heal. So I started with photography because that was a way I could like start to witness myself, because one of my biggest wounds I felt like was not feeling beautiful and not feeling like I could look in the mirror and feel beautiful. So like photography was the modality to alchemize that wound, right? And now it's kind of moving into something else. Now I'm like exploring like, wow, there's so many things that I want to explore. Actually, singing, being on this podcast is art alchemy to me, because I'm creating this experience for people and using my voice, which has always been a big wound for me. Voice alchemy, our friend Kiki, she does a lot of work around activating the voice for a lot of people who feel like their voices have always been suppressed or not been listened to, or they haven't like had an opportunity to activate their voices. So I think singing is the next frontier for me. I'm like kind of freaked out by it. I keep getting pings that's the next like art alchemy expression I need to tap into. But that's like kind of where I'm seeing all of us, and we're all alchemists. We all have the capacity to like alchemize our experiences and create something new and beautiful out of the density of what could be trauma and our wounds.
Yes.
Thank you for also pointing to like the origins of the concept of alchemy. I was literally thinking today, actually, I started a tweet and then I deleted it because I didn't have it right. Like I just was trying to name the fact that like, and I know that y'all see this, that like there's such an understanding in wellness spaces that there's certain spiritualities that are closed, certain cultures that you don't appropriate, don't burn white sage, don't do this, and that if it's not your culture. But these concepts, a lot of times of like alchemy, of, you know, receptive and active energy, of the chakra system in general, are so like, oh, that's just matter of fact. And I think that we don't see enough crediting back, for whatever reason it is, like somehow Asian spiritualities and cosmologies have just been baked in as like it just is, with no connection to the culture. Like we've had, I know we've had experiences together, and I'm sure separately, where we see this, that we're like we're all naming where everything's coming from. Did Asians just like fall out of the sky? Do we have too many movies where we're like magical and floating? And I was just thinking about that concept. That's like Asian like portrayals in media too. Like even though like, you know, like the typical like, I don't even know what the trope is, and I'm not like a media aficionado, but like the new Guanyin show on Disney had that same kind of concept that's in a lot of like East Asian movies where they're like floating. Like, like they're having like a battle and yet they're floating up in the air, and like, like this is just how, and like even like my kids' show on Netflix, like it was under representation matters category, this show that was about kids that were ninjas with a magic dragon, and I was like, sure, we all are also magic children of like Flo, especially Vietnamese, like yes, I am a child of dragons and fairies, but also like why are we like mystifying everything while also like not even talking about where it came from? That was my tangent of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people can look at Flo, for example, and be like, oh, she's so, whimsical, and because you're fun.
She is a real life fairy, y'all.
You're a real life fairy. You're hot. And like, I think a lot of people could be like really easily lump your experience because they've seen whatever media, that you're like, you have so much depth to you. And I think that's why it's so important that you like continually share your story, because it's so deep. There's so much people don't see online. Yeah.
Ocean deep.
Yeah, Flo, your story really stands out to me as healing for children of refugees and immigrants, and like Midori said, like taking photos for her was an alchemical like effort from body image, and I feel like you being free to just like play and be free is so powerful to witness, given like your personal life and your ancestral journey to where you're at now.
Wow, yeah, thank you. It's so what's the word? Cool. So like have these life experiences also be like affirmed by the stars that like, hey, this is what you're gonna like, this is what your soul is gonna go through. And here are also like, here's how you can like work with the energy. Here's how you can like alchemize and transform these experiences into something else. And that something else is underneath all. I remember I went to this talk after finishing grad school, and it was on the topic of trauma and healing in indigenous communities, and the speaker had shared that after an hour of talking about trauma, the speaker had shared that underneath it is really important too that we acknowledge underneath the trauma is ancestral joy, is ancestral desires and dreams and wisdom and gifts and strengths. So that is the unraveling of this chapter of soul, of like having to do the work of releasing, the work of getting into the body, and like also getting to know myself intimately, and these parts of myself that I've learned to like shame, that I've learned to that's been really it's been shame. That's been the main like belief, or the shame, guilt, grief, and anger, all these emotions that in a lot of Asian cultures, we're taught not to we're taught not to express it. We're taught to suppress it. We're taught to hold it in, to be quiet, not talk about it, right? And all that shit, if we don't talk about it, it's gonna go somewhere. And if it's not in the brain, it's gonna go down into the body, and then it's gonna be stored in the body, right? It's literally like information that goes into the brain gets integrated into the body. It makes it way down the nervous system, down our communication channels from the brain down to the body. And the nervous system is a complex system of nerves. It's the biggest cranial nerve that connects from the brain down the spine. So it goes down the spine, and then it has like all these intricate nerves that connects to our organs, right? And so that is the body's like main communication system. And I think it's been so, like, honestly really fucking cool to be where I am now and like be able to like have your support, Midori, Siobhan, Jazz, Alex, all the people that I invested my time and like my energy in like into that have like held space for me to be with these parts of me and learn and process these emotions and remember that underneath these stories, right, it's not my stories. Oh my gosh, that's the crazy part. All these stories are that I'm releasing, that people that I'm releasing are not my stories. And so releasing ancestral fears and like really dropping into the wisdom of the body and tapping in, like doing the like, you know, it's imagine like you have a flashlight going into the darkness of all the things that we didn't talk about, all the things that we didn't feel, that we didn't express, right? And we find, you know, it's we find versions of ourselves that's like, oh my gosh, I need like mine was really shy, a really shy baby girl. She was so shy, and like I had to get her. I had to get her. I had to save her, you know, and like that's what, you know, the power of visualization, the power of meditation can do. It's like accessing these parts of us that lives within us through body-based like healing, through our imagination, and like being in relationship with these parts of us, and like and then bringing it into light, into like integrating into love, right, into forgiveness and compassion. And
Yeah, the imagination, I feel like your imagination through your work, I really see how Soul Bloom is a creative practice and how it's just a pure embodiment of what lives in you, what you've concocted, and like even just your background right now. If you're not watching on YouTube, at least pop in to see Flo's background, because it just is like this expression that is so pure. And however, like it's like the brand is cute chaos. Like she ain't lying when she says she's cute and chaotic. Like it is true, but there's something so pure and so important about it. Like it's so important to just be reminded that as simple as our imagination is a tool to liberation. Your 420 healing ceremonies, really, I think you like revolutionized Zoom, like through what you did in those parties during, you know, I think I first joined one maybe early 2021, not from the jump, but I was somebody who, when the pandemic started and everybody was gathering on Zoom to hang out, Zoom birthday parties, Zoom whatever, I was like, not for me. I'm someone who like really needs that connection, and I didn't think it was possible to bring connection in that way into an online space, and you totally changed my perspective on that. To people who've never attended one of Flo's 420 healing ceremonies, or the kickbacks, like you go in and it's a Zoom call. First of all, everybody on there is just cool, and like it just felt like this kinship immediately, and mostly like, you know, Asian American for sure, mostly people of the diaspora. Flo leading these visualizations that are so powerful into ancestral realms, Flo encouraging us to move our bodies, the collaborators you invited in, we're doing breath work, we're dancing, Flo's gift to like pick the exact song that we need at that moment. Like DJ Fairy Godsis is just so tapped in, and it's just so cool to see that like that is what channeling can look like. Channeling can look like creating the ultimate like Zoom experience where everyone just feels safe to dance on camera and smoke weed. And that's what we needed. Like it really changed my life, Flo, like, and has absolutely impacted the way that I saw possibility through creative online space.
Let's go. Woo! Thank you, Siobhan.
Can you let us in more on your creative process? What does like a typical creative process look like for you designing something like that, or your soul ceremonies?
Wow. So when I realized, honestly, these past few years, my Saturn return. So this is planet Saturn, everyone who's watching. Planet Saturn represents a planet of growth, right? A planet of discipline and structure that is in alignment to you, your soul, right? So your Saturn return, it happens around like every like 28, I would say like the full period's like 28 to 33, like ages 28 to 33. That's when a lot of just like changes and disruptions to like your life, depending on what house it's in. Wait, what am I talking about Saturn return? Oh, see, this happens when like I'm answering a question and then I have to like, I want to share a little context. But also we have Saturn here. And so long story short, after me realizing that like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be doing this like this like computer, out. However, my first job after grad school, it was at this really dope organization at UCSF called HEAL. And we, I was part of their like curriculum design team for social medicine. They work with medicine, medical practitioners in the U.S. and health workers across different partner different partner organizations in the world. It's a sorry, I'm getting kind of like lost in the sauce. So I was part of their curriculum design team for social medicine. What I learned about myself is that I love designing. Like I love putting agendas together. I love putting a flow together. I love a beginning, a middle and end piece. I love like that whole process of like, I want to create an experience. And so my practice has been really like, honestly, so much gratitude for plant medicine and cannabis for grounding me into my body and like helping me to return to the basics of my breath, of my body, of this present moment. And music has definitely been a big part of my like creative practice and like grounding body practices. But yeah, it's creating a ritual of what I'm doing, and I realize, now that I know that I am a very open and clear channel, like in hindsight, I didn't know that. Back then, I didn't know that. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew that like I had to share this message. I knew that I had to like put out this event, and this was the message to be shared in that for that theme that month. I have to get my charger.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, go get your charger. But I feel like the biggest shift from like existing online spaces that I thought was what Flo was bringing to the table was that it generally felt like a party. Like every like spiritual healing experience online was just so like serious and like so serious. A lot of like new age, honestly, white practitioners who would have like really big Zoom events, you know, with like whatever 150 people doing these like guided meditations and sound bowl healing ceremonies. But like yours felt like a party, and the fact that there was a lot of like people of the diaspora, like Siobhan said, like it feels like you were pulling up to like a house party, and like everybody looked cute, and you would like send these emails like wear your lip gloss and like trust yourself, like, and that would be like so themed, you know, and like you said, you would take these you would take these themes that came to you every month, and you would like make it into this whole thing. It's like you're pulling up to like a college house party, but you're, you know, we were in our late 20s, which is so cool. It's like the evolution of that kind of vibe where at the end of the day, I want to have fun. If I'm going to show up to a Zoom event, there is a vibe to be, you know, more serious and to do that quote unquote shadow work together and stuff. But like you made it fun and so full of life. And everybody that pulled up, I was like, ooh, you know, you never know who you're going to see, and you never know who's going to be, what cutie is going to be in there. And we're all queer, you know, so it's just like fun to see who was going to pull up and what they were going to wear. And like, yeah. And then you would take us through these visualizations that would like, the first one I mean, the first visualization I experienced from you, I had some really life-changing, downloads come through. I saw my like great grandmother. I like, I mean, I was very high, but like, I think that was what was the channel that was opened. I was so connected to the medicine because you really dropped us into that space, and you did it in a very ceremonial way, even though at times I know you said you didn't know what you were doing, but it's like you created this like really imaginative space for all of us to have our own experiences. You know, like you guided us, it's like that trance journey. Basically, it was a trance journey. So you guided us into a place, and then you let us have our own experiences there. And you gave us just enough visual cues to kind of create our own worlds. And that's like what is so powerful about that sort of visualization, is that it gives you just enough to like work off of. So we all kind of arrive to the same kind of dimension. And then we're all journeying together, and that energetic field amplifies the potency of what happens in that space.
Absolutely, Flo. I'm thinking about, as Midori is explaining that, like just how embodied that is to meet us where we're at. That is, to me, culturally competent care, which is a phrase that we like use in like wellness and like medical practices. Like, are you providing culturally competent care? And that, you know, it's like when the nutritionist is telling this person, are you incorporating like foods of different people? And to me, it's like culturally competent care is like, I want Asian American millennials, that kids of immigrants, to feel this, and I'm going to meet them where they're at home, smoking weed, listening to good music, get a DJ, and make it meeting us where we're at. Like meeting, like to me now, hearing that contrast of like those Zoom ceremonies that are like 150 plus people, to me that feels so forced, because something so ceremonial, you don't do that really like generally with strangers, or like, you know, like that serious tone, the like, we're bringing in these ceremonial like rituals, and it's like, okay, where do these come from? Who are you? Who else is here? And the way you did it was like, let's give you a taste that meets you where you're at, and that is leaving the invitation open. And it was just so fun. Like by the end, the way everyone was just like dancing and staying for like hours after dancing, like me facilitating, I get so like, to me, you were such a bold facilitator. Because for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to keep people too long. I'm gonna make it 90 minutes, max 2 hours, make sure they get out of there. And you're like, you're with me, you're vibing, we're dancing till midnight. I don't know what fucking time it is, and I don't care. Like,
Welcome to the flow vortex. That's
And
literally.
it literally is like this vortex that people come into, and I'm like, that's
Vortex.
it. You sucked me in.
I remember having a therapy session with my former therapist during the pandemic after a 420 ceremony. And at the time, I too want to acknowledge my teacher, Jumake. I was in their program, Your Story Medicine, and one of the assignments for folks in the program is to share your story and to invite people to get a taste of your medicine. And so I was like, all right, so my medicine is smoking weed. My medicine is smoking weed, listening to music, setting intentions, right? And moving and honestly crying. That was my ritual. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll take people on a journey like this can be the
We're gonna smoke, dance, and cry, y'all. I'm like, sign me up. I am your audience. The target client.
Yeah. And I remember the first time having the first ceremony was October 2nd, full moon in Aries. And it was a couple hours. And after it ended, I just remember feeling my whole entire body in like, I was activated. I was like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like, I felt like I was on a really, like, on a big high, like a big life-changing kind of like opening that happened after the first ceremony. And I remember telling my therapist that, like, oh yeah, I feel like it feels like a one-woman show, like a one-person show, because I think that's why it's like when I give myself the permission to share from my heart and speak honestly, truthfully from my heart, right? That is when like the cue of all these different parts of me is like coming onto stage, right? The inner comedian, the inner star, the sage, the like
trickster,
the trickster, like they're all coming on stage.
Flo is a real life Tinkerbell. I've really resolved.
I'm wearing my red pants today too. Yes. So just unraveling, and yeah, some of the other cards that came out was the Master too, of like really becoming like, I mean, I'm thinking like my current assignment that I am to master into like really get a hold of so that I can really tap into my full powers is emotional alchemy, being able to transmute a lot of these old stories that's still in my body, right? Stories and beliefs that's linked to my mother, that's linked to my grandmother, and stories around like how I must present and how I must act, right? It's a lot of like deconditioning, unlearning these stories. And it's a lot of expression of it, because I think about if suppression was like what I was like as a kid, I was like dead silent. I remember getting an award in middle school at Girls Inc. program. The award was silent but deadly.
Dang.
And
prophecy.
Yeah, kind of crazy. But it's crazy. Like as a child, I was so quiet. I was like dead ass silent, and so like hidden, and like wanted to like be small and not stand out. And it's so crazy how like my light, like wow, I no matter how much I try to hide, like I will always stand out.
Yo, this is just making me think like, they always say your superpower is the thing that is your biggest wound, right? And now thinking about, the tool of white supremacy, of like cancel culture and the fact of perfectionism, it's like, how else are we going to show up and continually in the thing that's the hardest to do, which is usually our calling, if we don't allow ourselves to like fuck up and be in the process? Like, I just think about, dude, like how, a lot of my chart and my astrology and like my life purpose is about my voice. And it seems like, Flo, like for you, it is similar, like your voice and being seen. Siobhan, you too, like your Chiron there, pointing to like your leadership, like all of us kind of stepping into the spotlight and whatever that capacity that means for us. It's like we have to continue doing it anyways, even when we might fuck up, we might say the wrong thing, we might show up in the wrong way, we might show up in a way that like quote unquote triggers someone, or like say the wrong thing that's not accurate, that's not factual, right? Like I get so tripped up in like, oh, I can't speak because I don't actually know 100% that this is true, or that this is historically correct, or it's just like, it's actually like not the point. And obviously I don't think we need to like, I don't think we always need to speak on things we don't know about, but I do feel like there's this feeling of like we need to show up, especially now. Like it does matter. I think a lot of people have been talking about, oh, there's so many podcasts out there and we don't need another podcast, or we don't need another show, we don't need another business. It's like, no, we need it all, because even if there's only like 2 or 3 people that hear your story and like it resonates with them, that's enough. Like that's gonna shift your life. And I even think about each other, like how both of you we've all been catalysts for each other. If no one watched this show, the fact that we all hopped on and like got something from each other today is worth it to me.
Yeah.
And it should be motivating enough to show up,
Yeah. The other thing I'm hearing in your story too, Flo, that I really love is, you acknowledging that these are not, a lot of it is not yours that you're carrying, and you're letting it go in a way that is doing work for your family that doesn't involve, and I know like we won't get so deep into it, but you and I both have this where like we, again, 8th house, like we do this work, we do so much of our drive and our heart is in our families, but like real life, we don't have those conversations with our families so much, or when we've tried to, they don't really go anywhere. And I think that you're a beautiful example for people listening who think like, I can't heal my family, like I don't talk to them. Like that's even more reason to connect with your ancestors, because you have ancestors that love you, that see you, that you're the reason, like they're counting on us to be the ones for our other living family members who, are either uninterested or unable to see what's going on. And like 8th house people, what I've been reading is like 4th, 8th, 12th house people are very triggering for others. And I've dealt with that in my family, like being one of 4 kids with 2 parents, where it's been this energy of, well, if everyone's right and you're the only one that's wrong, then you're wrong by the logic of white supremacy and majority rules bullshit. And so people get so triggered and they think they're so right. But like, you're like, you know what? Everything I do is for my ancestors. And yet I'm not willing to do it in a way that's going to please them by starting streaming, by being all these different things, being a star. Like, like that is family healing. You don't have to talk to your family to do family healing. And I think that is just really inspiring for me and for like others, I'm sure, out there who think that it's only worth it if you're working at repair and you're living relationships. And like, we are a chosen family. We are like, siblings. And there's other timelines. I think that that's like more literal, but
No,
but
really.
it is true. That's like, your family is not just the living people you are assigned, and don't let them stop you from this responsibility and like joy that's available to connect with your ancestors. Because it's hard to explain, hard to explain that like to my living family members, like, yeah, everything you don't like about me is actually, I'm actually doing it for you. Like they can't hear that. They can't receive that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Eighth house probs.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving black sheep like crew, because it's like the shadow self. A lot of like, you're gonna trigger your family when you are the representation of everything that they're scared of.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that is inherently like fourth house, right? It's like the darkest part of the chart. It's midnight. Eighth house is right after seventh, so it's like the merging, it's death, it's what happens right after you go into deep relationship. It's like intimacy, which is like people aren't used to that. People aren't used to being intimate with themselves. In order to be intimate with someone, you have to be intimate with yourself. And then 12th house is straight up just like what is unseen, like the subconscious. So it makes sense that all of those placements within astrology are what if you have major placements there, that you probably, if you have your sun there, for example, that you're going to be like a reflection of what they don't want to look at.
I love that you brought that up of the timing. I didn't know some of that of what you just said, but one of the questions that I had that I was going to ask was really right on vibe with that. I was at my friend Bree's, and she and her husband have this deck that's like questions they do to get to know each other. And when I was visiting with them last, I did it with them, and the question was, what was it? What time of, like, what's the sky look like? If you were the sky, what would you look like? And their answers were really cute. And my answer was the sunset. And I was just like, well, I just love the sunset. And then I thought deeper. I was like, oh, because of like the liminality of it, that transitional time of day. So let me ask you both, and we can all be sunsets, but what time of day, or what is this? If you're the sky, what do you look like? It's not really about the time of day, actually. It could be daytime. The weather. What is your sky? If you were an embodiment of the sky, what does it look like?
Okay, I have one. It's when you can see both the sun setting and then the moon rising.
Ooh.
Aww. Love, yes, like when it's like kind of like that faded blue that you can see the moon coming up on that side. Yeah.
Aww. My first thought was like the dead of night with like a ton of stars.
I knew you were gonna say that.
My favorite time at night, my favorite time of day is to be by myself and like dance under the stars. So there's that. But astrologically, it'd be like the break of dawn, because that's 12th house, right before the sunrise. The sun, right as the sun is crossing over the horizon. 12th house, sun.
Can we ask more questions?
Yeah.
Flo, what is your favorite astrological placement right now?
Taurus. I've learned to love my Taurus moon. Taurus has taught me so much about feeling good and like not being rushed. I hate being rushed. And which is like
trauma around being rushed, neurodivergent trauma, y'all.
Yeah. And now most times I'm like usually the one rushing myself, but I learned to slow down. Yeah, Taurus, learning to definitely feel good and to receive and to experience pleasurable, sensual experiences. That's where I'm at. Ready to eat good.
Midori, what about you?
Yeah, Venus and Gemini. Yeah, like being really actually not being. I used to perceive that placement as being like accessible to anyone, being really popular or whatever, and I think it's more just like I know I have the ability to connect with anyone I want, and I can actually like be discerning about that. Like that doesn't mean I have to be in connection with everybody, and that everybody needs access to me. But I do have a gift of like talking to whoever I come across, which is fun. But yeah, I can be discerning, and that's cute. What about you, Siobhan?
I didn't really have an answer for myself, but now that I think about it, currently I've been really connecting with my Aquarius moon. I think it's always my Aquarius moon. I think it's the one I have to shout it out because it's the only thing that balances me from being a complete annoying ass Cancer Leo bitch. Because everything else is there. I was just cracking up yesterday at it, noticing my Aquarius moon. I think I texted you something, Dory, where I was like blocking out the time to like cry or feel or something, and I'm like, that is so me and my Aquarius moon. Is like I like to make my emotional dumping like kind of efficient and then like fit it into my day because I'm so Cancerian. So it's that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the structure around it. Like, oh wait, you have 1 hour to feel
It's
like
a routine maintenance.
yeah.
Yes, maintenance.
I'm like, maintenance, I'm due for a maintenance cry.
And I think that's like the anti-corny placement. Like you could just be a cornball, honestly, if you were all Cancer Leo.
I would be if anyone thinks I'm annoying now, just be grateful that I have an Aquarius moon.
It's a really good balance.
Okay, I looked up a page of questions. I just want to hear your answer. Flo, what is your favorite sport?
Easy, double dutch. That's all I did as a child. As a child, that's all I did every recess, especially lunchtime and after school, double dutching, and then playing Chinese jump rope.
Oh my god, I just want to hug little Flo. Okay, what household chore do you like the most?
I have a couple favorites. I love the feeling of doing my laundry. I love doing my laundry, and then I love cleaning up the spaces that I use often to set it up again. Oh, I love that feeling. Like my altar and like my workstation, my station to like journal.
Okay. Fantasy place to travel.
Fantasy place to travel.
It could be earthly or not.
Definitely non-earthly. Oh, well, I would love, earthly, definitely in the islands. I would love to travel to the Philippines.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
Okay, you heard it here first. We're gonna be there next year.
Yeah. And the last question is, what is your idea of a good date?
My date's like, I'll pick you up at 8. No, that's a little. I prefer 7.
It's a little late.
That's a little late. I would prefer 7 p.m. We go on a date. Oh, definitely. I get to dress up in my date outfit. We smoke a date joint, a date blunt, and then we walk. Maybe catch the maybe walk around the boardwalk, and then we'll grab a bite.
Just simple, cute, and connection based with food.
They're Jupiter's in Libra, so pashal into the cock.
Love. Midori, what's your ideal date?
Oh gosh. I just love a cute dinner where I can dress up. Like I pull up and I'm in my like favorite, like the outfit I feel the hottest in. A cute like grab like a bubbly prosecco situation, like like cute Italian restaurant. Cute date. Like we're like it's candlelit and we're staring at each other and like ugh. And then we go out and have like and play pool or something or like have a little fun moment afterwards, like a drink where I do like drinking on dates because it kind of loosens me up. So like yeah, bar hopping. I really like bar hopping on dates actually. Go somewhere new.
That's cute. I could get down with that. Though I like to drive myself to dates so that I could leave.
Same. Totally. What about you, Siobhan? What would be your ideal day?
Similar. Honestly, I think just like I love being able to dress up. I love dressing. This is one thing. It's so funny how when people say like, "Oh, women dress up for other women," I'm like, so true because my outfits when I go on dates are so much comfier. Like I always prioritize comfort and I guess going to dinner. I was just thinking this recently and I was like, that is how the culture has changed so much around dating and like maybe public safety because I used to always want to be of the mindset that if he doesn't pick me up, he's not shit. Now I'm like, okay, first of all, no, I'm not only like with cis dudes, but like I'm like, I want to meet you there. I want to have my own like tester that's like only committing to oh my god, I'm so wrong. I'm like, asking my dream date and I'm like putting all these safety measures. My dream date is structured so that there are several entry points where I can escape.
Yeah.
That's
my dream date for you is me sitting at a table a couple seats down with like Willow or Flo just like serving you.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think my dream date is like live music actually. Like going to get a drink, going to a show.
Yes.
If it's going well, a bite after.
Wait.
Smoking a joint around the corner before the concert. Yes. That is my dream date.
My dream date is all of us being on dates at the same venue.
Yes!
Yes!
Can we manifest that? Because that'd be so fun.
You know, there used to be
partners were
somebody put like the app out like years ago. Do you remember? There was this like my friends did it. There was like a group date app. There was like we're a group of 3.
Oh my god!
2 chicks paired with 3 guys, and they would go to a bar. My friends did it, and they were like, yeah, like 2 people in the group hit it off, and the rest of us just hung out, and it was chill in that sense. But that's I would do that. I would go on like a triple date with y'all.
I would too, but I don't know if I don't actually do well that well in groups that big. Like I don't know.
Yeah, the icebreaker.
I'm definitely more of a one-on-one person, but I would try it for y'all.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually. I highly doubt the romantic chances are there for us, but also I'm like,
can we just travel together?
I'm just saying, like, also, what would a group of guys that we would all be into even look like? Or a group of people? I'm like, it's just gonna need to be 3 other Asian chicks. Like, that's the only guaranteed way that we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna, like, at minimum, need to be 3 other psychic stoner Asians.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Psychic stoner Asians. Is that our need? Is that our brand?
I think it is. Unfortunately, I think that's our little pigeonhole. Flo, would you go on a reality show?
Depends. If it's my reality show, yes. If it's your reality show, yes. But like America's reality show, I don't know about that. I think I gotta like train myself for it.
Yeah. Would you, Siobhan?
I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I totally would.
Which one would you go on?
I would go on like every reality show.
She's ready.
I'm dynamic here. I would go on Love Is Blind. I would go on like a game show. I feel like we just need to be on Family Feud.
Oh,
Or with Willa, Flora's Lava.
well, that'd be fun.
I need to like physically train probably for a few of them, and then there's other ones like The Bachelor where like you literally can't be above like a size 2 to join, so I'm probably not eligible for some of these because they're like in bikinis the whole, like Love Island, and they're in bikinis the whole time. Like I would still do it though if they would let me on. I'll be in there and change their mind about their beauty standards.
Everybody would fall in love with you, Siobhan.
Enlighten them.
Because you would be so, yeah.
I would just be in the corner giving everyone readings and all of them and be like, she's like my best friend, but I'm confused. There's fucking models. There's models everywhere. Yeah, really, this is just manifesting that we need our own, because I still think we're the HBO's groundbreaking moneymaker series waiting to be discovered is these witchy Asian Bay Area baddies.
You hear that, universe? We're ready.
Okay, this one's for Flo. Well, this is for Midori and I. This is just the first question on this list. How would your friends describe you in one word? But I want to do it for each other instead of like describe yourself in one word. Flo. Fairy. You really are. I think you're just the embodiment of a fairy to me, because like I told you, in my not just like the cute, dainty, whatever, but literally like I think of Tinkerbell when she throws tantrums, when she's not getting enough attention. I think of her playing tricks when she's pissed off, like just being like a trickster. Like I think you're such a trickster in like the sweetest way, like surprising people. Like I think of the one time we were doing plant medicine journey at Midori's place, and Flo just like pops up, like doesn't tell anybody that they're coming. But like to me, that is like pure trickster fun energy, like chaotic good. Was like, no one invited me, but I'm gonna slide through with my like tea and fruit and like just like give a surprise. Like I just like the like delight of a little surprise.
Yeah, it's your total trickster energy. The first thought that hit my mind was ethereal. Yeah, I mean, like, or Pisces, like you're just like, hello, you're a fish.
So Pisces. That's my.
You're a fish. You are the medium between realities.
She's a Pisces. She's a Taurus. Just the two of you.
We really are the embodiments of our signs, though. I think like Siobhan is a Cancer through and through with the Leo undertones.
Yes. Oh, I like that word.
Like Cancer presenting with Leo.
Cancer presenting.
Leo underneath.
Cancer.
I'm having astrological dysphoria. Actually, I do have that a lot. That's my Leo.
Oh, that's so much weird.
Yeah. And then Midori's word.
Magician.
Yeah.
Bloody magician. Like you help people turn something turn something on within themselves.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. It's really hard. I'm really struggling to pick one, because on one hand I want to say like godmother, like the warmth. I think of you as like just like so warm and like consuming. Maybe that is, you're like consuming, I think. I don't know if that's like the one word actually, if I had to really pick one, but right now I'm like consuming. Like I feel like your energy is all consuming, and like what you give, the way you hold people, like the like magnetism of like that you command in a place. Like I feel like your presence is consuming like people. That's why people are so drawn in. Like it's that lover energy where they're like,
card. If I were to choose a tarot card,
Oh, neck breaking. She's breaking necks.
Wow, I received that. I like find myself like wanting to deflect, but I have to receive. I have to let it land. Thank you.
Well, because I know there's like a shadow to that on it too. Like that's like, yeah, people get consumed.
Okay, what is
everyone consumed by Midori? Leave her alone.
Unless you want to give me money.
Yes.
Unless you want to session with me.
Shut up or shut up.
If you're consumed by Midori, book a session and don't show up. Just give her the money and fuck off.
You can talk to my my manager, Siobhan.
Yes.
Siobhan at laurenmidori.com. She's my manager.
Chris Jenner at laurenmidori.com.
Chris Jenner at laurenmidori.com. Thank you very much. Siobhan, the first word that popped in my head for you is the sage. Yeah. You really do have an ability to zoom out. Like I've never experienced that before. Like you like really can cut through things fast. Like you see, it's almost like you see the line of energy and you can follow it, and it like gets you to like almost that intellectual understanding of the situation really fast because you know so much like philosophically and you've studied so much about history. Like you have so much context to understand things. Yeah, it's really cool to witness.
I receive that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really like, it's cool to think of the shadow of all of these qualities because I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's my gift, and it's what has gotten me into trouble. I just think of like in conversations when I get to like the point, you know, like it's like it's the principle. It's not like what happened. I feel like that's like such a theme of all of my like interpersonal conflicts is like me being in the root, whereas people are up here and being like, that wasn't so serious. And I'm like, but I'm feeling the depths of what this represents about your whole character and being. And like, it takes a lot for me to not like throw the whole kitchen sink in there and draw in like, wow, you made that comment because you're insecure as fuck about your mother wound.
Yeah, like you can.
Like, I have to be able to sometimes take things just at the face value and not overanalyze it.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Flo, for Siobhan? What's your word for Siobhan?
The word that comes to me is, I think, it's light. Like you have this gift of like distilling through the bullshit and like getting to the truth. Like you help us get to the truth of the matter.
Love. Oh, you guys, this was so tender. I love you both so much.
I know, big hug. Virtual hug.
If you have stayed hanging with us this long, thank you for just witnessing us being little besties giggling like we do.
We love you all.
I love you both. We are Soft Power. I don't think we even said that in the beginning. Flo is also a co-founder of Soft Power. We have an email list now. Please join our email list. We send out Sunday transmissions, collecting our personal projects, highlighting our friends' projects. And it's emerging this year, again, witnessing our journey of discovering what I think can come from genuine, vulnerable relationships. Because what you see is 3 friends having a good time, but what you don't see are the real relationships that we have that hold one another accountable, that challenge thoughts and patterns and ways of being. And it's just such unconditional love. And I'm going to cry now because I'm just like, it really is. I think that's just it. Like with you two being able to feel safe to go deeper into what friendship can offer and what siblinghood can offer, because we refuse again to let each other slip into the void and to throw each other away and to just like choose to keep loving and showing up. So thank you both for being my sisters in this life.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Give Flo a follow. Book Soul Play. Flo is available for booking for facilitation at your organization or company, as well as one-on-one ceremonies that are really powerful. If you want somebody to meet you where you're at, to help you discover in your own way with fun and lightness, Flo is your fairy. So thanks for being here, Flo. Thanks, Midori.
We'll see y'all next week on Wednesday at 1:11 p.m.
And we have Dr. Kiki next week. See you then.
See you then.